Welcome, I'm Hugh Massey, the CEO and founder of DNA Behaviour International. Today, I'm delighted to talk to you about the financial DNA discovery process. I'm going to start with addressing the financial behaviour report in this session. In the following sessions, I'll address each of the other financial DNA reports. The starting point of financial DNA discovery is our natural behaviour discovery process. Overall, our objective with financial DNA is to uncover a person's financial personality. This is made up of their natural behaviour, which we'll talk about in this session, and also their learned behaviours, where they've learned to adapt that natural behaviour in terms of making decisions based on life experiences, values, and their education. But as those of you who've heard me talk before, at the centre of a person's decision-making, particularly when they're under pressure, is their natural behaviour. That is what drives the majority of their decisions when under pressure. And so we emphasise pressure a lot. It's caused by money in relationships, and also there are significant life events that take place that put people under pressure as well. Understanding a person's financial behaviour is important in the financial planning process for a couple of reasons. One is in terms of how to communicate and relate to them. As an advisor, it's difficult to do proper discovery with a client if you don't know how to communicate with them, if you don't know how to customize the experience, make them feel comfortable, ask them questions in the right way, facilitate them in the right way, guide them to revealing what is important. Trust in the relationship will be broken. And when you have to have difficult conversations with them, it won't work. Secondly, understanding the person's financial behaviour puts boundaries around what decisions will get made and how the financial plan is going to be built. You need to understand the client's risk profile, their spending patterns and their goals, and generally speaking, what we call their financial behaviour capability. We encourage advisors to have all of their clients go through financial DNA. And when I say client, that is also the spouses and ideally the adult children. And importantly, the financial advisor themselves personally and their advisory team. We don't recommend that an advisor have clients go through this if they haven't been through it themselves. Part of the idea here is for the advisor to see their differences, not only between the couple and within the family unit, but between the advisory team and the client as well. That's what you're navigating and dealing with. And that's where so many of the problems arise in advisory relationships, is the unmanaged differences between the advisor and the client. So in looking at this report here, it's a one-pager, which is very much by design so that the client, and in this case, that's Helen Jones, gets a snapshot immediately of who she is. Once she's completed the financial DNA natural behaviour discovery, which is 46 questions, taking on average 10 to 12 minutes to complete, she'd get this report online, plus an online experience, consisting of videos, some other materials to read that will help her understand more about who she is. In our system, we have additional reports that the client can be given, and also that the advisor can use to leverage in getting deeper insights that sit underneath this report for question asking and overall to facilitate the advisory process. So Helen has come out as an engager, and we can see what that means down here in this graphic. Here, she is one of 10 styles, so the engager is one of 10. Now that's, we measure 4 trillion combinations of behaviour overall, but to bring this back to an understandable level, we distill it down to 10 styles to start with. So Helen's an engager, which generally means she's quite outgoing, quite fast-paced in making decisions. She wants to connect and build a relationship, but she won't be as detail-orientated, and maybe not as focused on results and goals. More focused on lifestyle goals would really be where Helen is going to be at. But you can see the other styles here. If she's got a spouse or a life partner, that person's likely to be opposite to her. That is not always true, but in more cases than not, 70% or so of cases, should be partnered up with her opposite. So somebody over here, which create differences as well that need to be managed, and those behavioural differences manifest themselves in how money is dealt with. So we like to know how Helen will make decisions, and every person has behavioural biases. None of us are perfect decision makers, and under pressure, Helen's going to be a bit more of a herd follower, so she's going to want to follow what everybody else does, what I call being a dinner party investor. She could jump into things without really thinking about it carefully enough, which also comes with the instinctive behaviours there. But what others are doing is important, and she might often in meetings raise with you what others are doing and see that as good because she believes the person telling her is smart, or just believes it and doesn't do the research. That won't always happen, but that will be a natural tendency. How do you get her to adopt a plan or solutions? Keep the process fun and exciting. Usually graphics, high-level information, engaging conversation is going to be important. Keep it, moving, free-flowing, comfortable, easy. Maybe meet at a restaurant or for a cup of coffee somewhere. Do something different, just so that she is always kept engaged. That's always going to be important, because that's for her building trust. And if you're her opposite in terms of liking a lot of information, you'll find that difficult to do, because you'll want more of a formal setting, boardroom setting, wanting to read documents, do preparation. That isn't going to be how it works for her. Spend time on the relationship, which will mean face-to-face time, on the phone, Zoom, take your time and allow brainstorming. That's what's going to get her to buy in. So you as the advisor may need to adapt your style if you're not an engager as well. So then what we do, where the real meat and the sandwich is in terms of the report, is these 5 behaviours here that you need to look at, what I call the 5 dials. So the first one's about her risk behaviour. This is her hardwired risk behaviour, how she will naturally look at risk, and she'll be instinctive about taking risks. She is a higher risk taker at the end of the day. Any score over 70 is high. So what this score means is percentage-wise where you sit in relation to the rest of the population. So Helen is 73%, so she will take risks more than 73% of the population. So she's somewhat of a higher risk taker and won't be totally cautious. Relationship management. Again, she's come out with a score of 73% here. So she wants a relationship with an advisor. So this is where you can step in and mentor her, guide her, get close to her. She's going to want some energy from you in the advisory process, whereas someone with a lower score doesn't want as much interaction with the advisor. They might want to make the decisions themselves and just use the advisor as a sounding board. But that's where I always recommend that the advisor and a client have a conversation about what relationship do you want and how will it work. Many advisors that I know like clients to delegate to them. That's fine, but remember, not all clients are going to delegate, particularly at the start. They're not as trusting as that. And so just knowing those boundaries is important. Financial planning management. So Helen's got a score of 3% here. So what we know here is that she's not detail orientated, she's not structured, she's likely to be possibly free flowing with spending money. A budget would most likely be a foreign concept for her in terms of sticking to it. Now that's the natural instinct. What I've learned as we've gone along with this is that people like Helen, who tend to be naturally unstructured, sometimes do put structure into their finances because they don't have an unlimited amount of money. There is only so much to live on. So there is some budgeting going on, or boundaries that get set between them and their life partner. But remember, this is their instinct. And even if Helen is conscious of what a budget is, most cases with someone with a score like this is they probably don't stick to it and they really struggle. And that's not completely a bad thing. Sometimes, you can look at spending money as good because it's meaning that you're out there in the world in life, you're having life experiences. But saving money is also important for putting some away for the future, for saving for your retirement. It's a matter of where you're at. So I don't want to be totally judgmental that not saving money is all bad, because there are people out there that have the reverse score of Helen, could be 97 in terms of saving money, and they never go and enjoy themselves at all. And so what's the point of dying with a lot of money if you haven't enjoyed yourself? So, there's always a balance to everything. And you can see the same situations through different lenses. But what this is putting you on notice for as an advisor is to spend a lot of conversation time and review time as to how is Helen dealing with her capital, with her income, savings, what boundaries need to be put in. Maybe you need to build a strategy to get her to save more. And that's really what we're encouraging here. Wealth building motivation. So Helen is not highly goal orientated, she doesn't necessarily want to knock it out of the park on big financial goals that are going to take her a lifetime to reach. She's going to be more balanced life focused, a bit more in the present, more content. Lifestyle is going to be important. What she has today or does today is as important as what she does tomorrow. So she's got to keep a balance to that. But with the tendency to spend and not being as goal driven, and maybe she doesn't have the desire to earn as much money, that's going to need to be watched in the financial planning. So this is where these two dials are very important to look at in the context of the risk taking as well. That if she takes too many risks, doesn't save enough money, and is not that goal driven, that could lead to a financial behavior capability problem. So that's why I encourage looking at those three dials very carefully and having conversation with the client. At the end of the day, as I said before, this is not meant to be judgmental. It's all about the conversation and asking questions. So Helen, what are your goals? But what I'm trying to say to you as the listener here is not to be surprised that her goals are a bit more lifestyle orientated. Okay, that's what you've got to build around. And then the financial emotional intelligence. So she's got a lower score there again of 24, is more about the fact that she could get emotional when under pressure and make emotional based decisions. So this is where she does need your guidance as an advisor to hold her feet to the fire and keep her focused on what her goals are and the conversations that you've had historically, educating her to build a long-term plan. Whereas the people that are higher in here will tend to be a bit more rational, will possibly slow it down when they're under pressure. They will check themselves before they wreck themselves if they're highly financially, emotionally intelligent, and maybe be more logical when those pressure situations come, particularly if the market goes down. So here you'd know not to trust Helen's behaviour under extreme pressure, in terms of making an emotional decision. So what I've intended to do today is just to give you an overview of how this financial behaviour report works. I think it's a great snapshot to give a client to get the planning started and to ask key questions across these 5 areas. And as I said before, we've got more detailed reports that I'll go through in follow-up online sessions like this, so that you can use that more detailed information to ask more questions. Again, it's about asking questions. Not judging the client, and then building the right frameworks for the financial plan that are suited to the client situation.